Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our webinar this morning. I'm Emily Marsh from the Greater Concord Chamber of Commerce, and I'm so glad to be joined here today by Rachel Roderick from the New Hampshire SBA. This is a very important presentation today covering a lot of programs available for small businesses, and New Hampshire SBA has been really crucial helping them out this year and accessing disaster funds. So hope you'll gain a lot from this. If you have further questions, I'm sure you can reach out to them to get more info. This presentation is being recorded today, so you can watch it later. If you aren't able to attend live, we will get the recording out to people. But if you are here live right now, you can submit questions throughout the presentation. And to do that, you're going to move your mouse or tap your screen. You'll see a button called Q&A. You'll just click on that and then simply type in your question and you'll be all set. So Rachel, I'll turn it over to you, and we'll have Warren joining us from New Hampshire SBA in just a minute as well.
Great, thank you so much, Emily. Good morning, everyone. I'm Rachel Roderick. I'm the Deputy District Director at the SBA office in New Hampshire. So we cover the whole state from our Concord office with our staff, and SBA, if you're happen to not be in New Hampshire, we have SBA offices located throughout the country as well. So most people are aware of all of these economic aid acts that have been coming through to assist small businesses over the last year with all of the disaster relief efforts due to the COVID vaccine, right? The COVID virus. So I just want to give a couple highlights. We're going to focus on the Economic Aid Act, but there are some other things that just passed with the American Recovery Plan that I just want to highlight of things to come and some recent changes to the program. So I am going to be joined here shortly by my colleague Warren Haggerty. Hopefully, he's having some technical issues, but hopefully we'll get him on the line, and the both of us will go through the slides and try to answer any questions that people have.
I am on, Rachel.
Oh, good. Great. Thanks. Good morning.
Good morning.
So that's okay. So before we start talking about what's on the slides here, I just wanted to give people kind of a snapshot of a couple of things, mostly the funding issue. So currently under the Paycheck Protection program, which is one of the primary disaster relief programs the SBA is administering, that program right now is scheduled to sunset on March 31st. So we are really busy getting the word out to all small businesses about that program. There is availability to a first draw for those that didn't participate in that program in 2020, and a second draw option for those that did participate in 2020. The funding levels right now, it looks like the funding is going to last throughout the program. We are actively getting the word out to our Schedule C filers, so the small sole proprietors, independent contractors, and anyone that files a Schedule C. They change the calculation for those loans quite dramatically. So we'll talk about that a little bit more detail, but if you are in that situation, it's definitely a program to relook at if you looked at it in the past and didn't think it was a fit for you. We are at about 10,000 loans in New Hampshire so far this go-around time for about $870 million. So, you know, our lenders are actively participating in the program and making these loans, and we are, you know, continuing to try to get the word out until the program expires. This first slide just gives you a snapshot of everything that we have going on for disaster relief. So we're going to spend a lot of time on the Paycheck Protection program, but just as for your awareness, if any business currently has an SBA loan, the agency has been doing what we call debt relief. So we have been, in 2020, we made several payments. Most people got 6 payments if on their existing loan, if it had an SBA guarantee to it, that the SBA was paying on behalf of the borrower to the lender. And those are forgivable payments. Those are not payments that got pushed down the road. Those are payments that do not have to be paid back. So that's a welcome relief for people. In the economic aid funding, that kind of got replenished. and we are making additional payments, and the number of payments kind of depends on when your loan was approved. But if you are a borrower, you should get notification from your lender on how many payments you'll be receiving under that new funding. The economic injury disaster loan, that's a direct loan that the SBA has available to help businesses with working capital or operating expenses. We'll talk more about that, but that program has been extended to the end of 2021. So it's available through December 31st of 2021. If you have not already applied, there is additional funds towards the EIDL advance, which we'll talk about. That is the grant portion of that program that does not have to be paid back. Shuttered Venue Operators. This is a grant that will be rolled out any time now. We're expecting it in the next couple of weeks, if not sooner. And this is a grant program for performing arts, primarily movie theaters, museums, those types of businesses that either do live performance or one of those other categories I just mentioned. You would be eligible to apply for a grant directly through the SBA for that program. So we're going to get a little bit more in detail here on the Paycheck Protection Program. So as I was saying, that people can either apply for the first draw or the second draw loan. So pretty much anyone who did not get a Paycheck Protection Program in 2020, up until the funding ran out, those people are now eligible to come back and apply for a first draw loan. We did expand the eligibility, so it includes additional types of entities. We'll talk about that in the next slide. The covered eligible expenses are expanded. So for those of you that remember the program when it rolled out, it's meant to be 60% or more used for payroll, and the additional amount of the loan can be used from other eligible expenses like rent and utilities, and they've also expanded it a little bit to include some other categories, including anything that you had to do to modify your business because of COVID, any PPE that you had to supply to your employees or to the public. Those types of expenses are now eligible under the program. There is a covered period for these loans. So once you receive the funds, you have anywhere from 8 to 24 weeks to use the money. You do have to have been in business by February 15th of 2020. And as of right now, you have to apply and the lender has to get approval by the deadline, which is March 31st of 2021, which is right around the corner. So some of the new eligibility rules because of the Economic Aid Act is now housing cooperatives, destination marketing organizations, 501c6s, which include chambers of commerce, and other eligible news organizations are now eligible to apply to the program, which were not under the CARES Act. Always eligible for the program includes our sole proprietors, independent contractors, and self-employed individuals, basically any business entity, regardless of how you're formed, 501c3 nonprofit organizations, and then some really specific veteran nonprofit organizations and tribal businesses. We're going to spend some time going over the changes to the sole proprietors and the independent contractors because that is a significant change that just happened March 5th, so very recently. So for those that did participate in 2020 and received a PPP loan, you are eligible to apply for a second loan if you meet certain criteria. And pretty much the major kind of eligibility here is that you have to show that your business suffered at least a 25% reduction in your gross receipts. And the way you do this, you can either do it by year to year. So if you look at your gross receipts for 2019 compared to 2020, if there's a 25% reduction, then you're eligible to look at the program. If you don't meet it that way, but you can compare quarter by quarter, so quarter 1 of 2019 to quarter 1 of 2020, quarter two to quarter two, and so on. If you show a 25% reduction in any quarter, you would be eligible to participate in this program, assuming that you have under 300 employees as well. So most small businesses in New Hampshire do not have a problem meeting the size standard for this program. The way the loan is calculated is the same as it was under the CARES Act. So you basically would come up with your average monthly payroll amount, and that can include all payroll expenses and self-employment compensation, owner's compensation. You get that number, that monthly number, and you times it by 2.5 using either 2019 or 2020 payroll costs. And that would be your maximum loan amount. One of the other changes here on the Economic Aid Act is that if you happen to be in the NAICS Code 72, which covers restaurants and accommodation businesses, you're able to take that monthly payroll number and times it by 3.5. So you'd be eligible for 3.5 months of your monthly payroll expenses for your maximum loan amount. All of these loans, first or second draw, you need to apply through one of our participating lenders. So you would, submit the information to a lender and they get the approval from the SBA. So just want to touch a little bit more in detail on the Schedule C filers, because this affects a lot of our small businesses in the state. So just a couple things here. These changes are not retroactive. So if you already applied to the program and you received your funds, it's probably not likely that you'll be able to modify your loan amount. We did start accepting applications on March 5th for this, but if you did get an approval before that and either didn't get the funds dispersed or the lender didn't report the loan to SBA, there might be a small window there of people that can modify the loan amount. But this is, as of this change going forward for the most part. And the big change here is how owner's compensation is going to be calculated. Prior to this change, the agency's guidance was that if you were a Schedule C filer, you would take your net income or your net profit, which was on line 31 of your Schedule C, and that would be your owner's compensation for the year, where you would then, figure out your monthly amount and times that by your loan amount. After this change, you're allowed to use your gross income, which is a pretty significant change for most small businesses or people that are filing their taxes this way. So you can now take your gross income. If you're a Schedule C filer with no employees, you get that from line 7 of your Schedule C. You divide that by 12 to get your monthly payroll compensation amount, and then you times that by 2.5 to get your loan amount, unless you're in that 72 NAICS code sector for restaurants and accommodations, then you can multiply it by 3.5. So that's one of the major things we've seen in this is that people that had very small net profits that didn't think it was worth their time to apply for PPP are now should we look at it, because you're looking at your gross income before all your eligible expenses. So it's a pretty different number to look at to come up with your loan amount. Also helps people that had a net loss. If you had a net loss before this change, you weren't eligible because you didn't have any net income to create your loan amount. Now those people would now be eligible because you're looking at your gross. If you do have a Schedule C with employees, it's kind of the same calculation to come up with your owner's compensation. You can still use your gross income, which is on that line 7, but they have you back out all of your employee expenses to come up with the owner's compensation first. So you'll take off anything on line 14, 19, and 26. And you don't have to remember this. We will share the slides with Emily to send them out to people, but you can basically deduct those lines. That comes up with your owner's compensation. And then you can go and look at your 941, which is how you report your payroll quarterly, come up with your annual payroll from that form, add any employer paid benefits to that. And then you have your annual payroll costs, which is then what you want to get your monthly number by, and then times it by the 2.5 or the 3.5 based on the industry you're in. So for most people, this is a lot more favorable way to calculate their loan amount. So it's something to definitely take a look at. If you looked at this program in 2020 or even earlier this year, and didn't think you either qualified or it was a very small amount you'd qualify for, it's a new game now with the way that this is calculated. So just want to try to get the word out to as many people as we can on that change. One little stipulation here that they've put out. So if you choose to use the gross to calculate your loan amount, which most people will, I would imagine, and that number is more than 150,000. So if you look at your Schedule C and your line 7 is more than 150,000, you want to make sure that your documentation in your file shows how your business was adversely affected because of COVID, because you will be in the pool that is a potential for a review or a look back on that documentation. If you're under 150,000, you are what we call safe harbored, which means we're assuming, you're not subject to a review. We're assuming if that number is under 150 that you were adversely impacted. And this would be for the first draw loans only. On the second draw loans, there's no documentation really required, because to qualify for the program, you have to show that you had that 25% reduction in revenues anyway. So you already kind of met that bar. One point here that I will say, that if you do use your gross, when you're doing that calculation, it is capped at $100,000 for owner's compensation. So we have that salary cap kind of across the board for PPP. So you would just, once you look at that number and take out any employee expenses, you just want to make sure that's capped at $100,000 when you're creating your loan amount. So so you don't get over that amount. Okay. Oops, there we go. So once you look at all of that, if you decide that this program is worthwhile for you to apply for, the first thing you need to do is to get a PPP lender to submit your application. Most people start with the lender that knows them. So if you have an existing relationship with the lender, that's usually the easiest place to start. If you do need help finding a lender, or your lender for some reason isn't accepting applications, you can use a program that we have on our website, which is Lender Match. So SBA.gov/lender match is how you find that. You can also visit our local website, which we'll give you later, which has a list of our New Hampshire 2021 lenders on it. So once you get a lender, you're going to check with them to see how they accept applications. The SBA does have forms for these applications, but a lot of lenders have been collecting the information on their website. So they have an electronic version of the forms. So you would just check with them before you start filling out forms. A lot of them just have it streamlined on their website, which makes it a lot easier. You would, submit that information, upload any supporting documentation that's required. Once they have a complete application, they're applying electronically to the SBA for approval. And then we're doing some vetting on our side and issuing a loan number, in a relatively short time. So at this point, with the March 31st deadline, all of these things need to be completed before that deadline to be eligible or to get the loan funded. These loans are designed to be forgivable loans. So, 99.1 or 2% of these loans that have been submitted to SBA for forgiveness have been forgiven at this point. As long as you're using the proceeds as agreed, we expect, 100% of these to be forgiven for the most part, with just a one-off for people that didn't use it as they were supposed to or didn't have the required documentation. And we'll talk about what happens in those cases on the next slide. Some of the changes through the Economic Aid Act that helped with the forgiveness process. One was that those individuals early on that took advantage of the economic injury disaster loan and got that grant portion. Originally, that was going to be deducted from the forgiveness amount on your PPP loan. They corrected that, so that's no longer the case, which was a really good change, both for businesses and for lenders that were going to have to, figure out how to service these very small loans. So that was a welcomed relief for all. Also, any expenses that you paid with your PPP loan, the IRS has now come out with a correction saying that all of those expenses are now going to be tax deductible. So that was a really good change. And then the SBA has dramatically simplified the forgiveness applications for all of our small loans, which we consider any loan under $150,000 in that category. About 90% of the loans in 2020 are under the $150,000 based on what we've received for forgiveness applications so far. And then once you do receive, the forgiveness of that loan, that amount is also not taxable income on the federal side. So in those rare cases where you end up with a balance owed because of either, a mistake or somebody just didn't use the loan as they were supposed to, that turns into a loan which is at a fixed interest rate of 1%, does not have any collateral or personal guarantees, no payments or fees for prepayment of that loan, so you can pay it off quicker than 5 years if you choose, but it does come with a 5-year maturity, and no payments due until 10 months after your covered period ends. So that's anywhere between the 8 and the 24 weeks on the covered period. And I'm going to turn it over to Warren, and he's going to talk about our economic injury disaster loan program in a little more detail. You there, Warren?
Warren, I can see you, but I can't hear you.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah, sorry,
that'll
I was trying to get it unmuted. Sorry, I was just apologizing for being late. My computer thought it would be a good time to decide not to work just before this. So anyway, I don't know. So anyway, we're going to talk about the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, or EIDL as it's more affectionately known. The purpose of this loan is to provide operating expenses or funds to pay operating expenses, I should say, for your business. There is a online application if you have not already applied. You can only apply once, so if you have received these funds, then you cannot reapply. But if you have not taken advantage of this, it does have a very low interest with a long-term working capital maturity on it. So we'll talk a little more about that. But the link to apply, it is a direct application online to SBA, and it is https://COVID-19 relief.sba.gov, and it's a very short application, and it's a really good form of getting some additional funding if you're in a need. Let me see here. So if you could go ahead and you did it already. If you could advance to the next one, Rachel, that'd be great. I think you did. Trying to keep track of my papers as well as the screen. I apologize. So the new programs. So the targeted EIDL advance is a program that's helping low-income community businesses that have already either received the targeted or had received the EIDL advance already, or for some reason did not receive it. Whether the funds had run out or there was a box that when you were applying, you were supposed to click on saying you wanted the EIDL advance. And in some cases, people missed that checkbox and overlooked it and did not check it. So it's kind of being divided up into buckets, so to speak. And so the first group of individuals that are being invited. So when I say invited, that means SBA will be sending out emails directly to those businesses that they assume qualify for the program, inviting you to apply. So the basically what this will do is it'll allow you to receive the balance difference between the amount that you had received and the maximum amount of $10,000 for that loan. The requirements are that the business has to be in a low income community, and there is a website that you can go to check this by just plugging in your business address and to see if you are located in that area. You also need to be able to show that you've suffered greater than a 30% economic loss and that you also have 300 or fewer employees. Those that did apply and, like I said, did not receive the funds due to lack of funding will receive the full $10,000 amount, providing they do in fact qualify. And they are the individuals that are kind of in the second bucket that's going to be receiving these email invitations. So once they get through and are in the process of sending it out to individuals that did receive some portion of that 10,000 currently, but once they get through that group, then they will start sending out emails to individuals asking them to come back in and apply for the EIDL advance that they did not receive at all. So there's nothing you can do on your end. You basically have to wait till SBA sends you an invitation to apply for that. The economic loss is calculated over a 8-week period beginning March 2nd, 2020 or later, and then that is compared to a previous year. So we'll go to the next one. So then we're going to talk about the Shuttered Venue Operator Grant. So this is a grant that, as Rachel had mentioned previously, are for eligible entities to apply for. The one thing you do need to do is before you apply, you need to register in the SAM system it's referred to as, and that's a grant management system that the federal government uses. And the email, or not the email, but the website for that is sam.gov. And you need to apply and get your information in there. So so when you do apply, you will be qualified, providing you meet all the eligibility requirements. The different types of businesses that can apply would be venue operators and promoters. As you can see, theatrical producers, live performance organizations, and then museums, zoos, and talent representatives. A business can have up to 5 business entities owned by the eligible entity that also meets the eligibility requirement. Plus, you must have been in operation as of February 29th, 2020. There is a maximum currently of $10 million set aside for that program.
I just wanted to add one point to that, is that this was a recent change that just came about because of the American Rescue Plan. But originally, when they announced that grant program, they told individuals that they were not able to participate in the PPP program and that program. That has now been changed, so that restriction is lifted. So even if somebody thinks they may qualify for the shuttered venue, they can go ahead and put in an application for the Paycheck Protection Program. If you do get that loan and then end up with a shuttered venue grant, they'll just deduct your PPP loan from your eligible grant amount when that happens. So people were concerned because the grant wasn't going to be open. The application process wasn't going to be open before the PPP expired, so they did correct that. So that was a good change as well.
Okay, thank you. Go to the, thank you. So then, so there's also loan debt relief, and this is for existing borrowers that either have a 7A, a 504, or a microloan borrower. So it's going to vary from loan and from circumstance, but the best way to find out how many months of SBA paying for that loan is to reach out to your lender, and they can help you figure out, you know, how many months SBA is going to pay for that. The one thing to just be aware of is that debt relief is not available for loans made under the PPP program. So that does not qualify, but this is for individuals that have already received or already have existing 7A, 504, and microloans. Borrowers do not need to apply for the debt relief. SBA will provide it automatically, and the lender will be notifying you that that SBA is in fact paying those monthly payments for you. You should contact your lender if you have any questions or to determine how long that will happen in your circumstance. So for new SBA-backed loans, SBA is now offering fee waivers on all new loans through September 30th of 21. SBA will make the first 3 monthly payments on all new loans that are approved after February 1st of 2021. And incentives to the lender, SBA has raised the guarantee rate on 7A loans to 90%, as well as for the SBA Express program, which typically only goes up to a 350 maximum, has been increased to a $1 million maximum, and normally would have a 50% guarantee, has been raised to a 75% guarantee. And these loans are applied through your lender. The lender makes the decision on making the loan, and then in fact would ask SBA to get involved with the guarantee if they feel that it's needed. So you would apply through a lender if you were interested in a 7A loan or the 504 or the microloan. So we've kind of gone over this slide previously, but just kind of to touch back, the 4 major programs that are currently available is the Paycheck Protection plan, used to pay for your payroll and like expenses, as well as up to 40% of other business related expenditures such as lease, rent, and utilities and things like that. We have the debt relief that we talked about with the 7A, the 504, and a microloan, where SBA will be paying a certain number of monthly payments for you. Then we have the 2 grant programs. Well, we have the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, which is actually a loan in and of itself, but then the Targeted Advance is a grant of up to a maximum of $10,000 based upon you applying for the EIDL loan. And that is that part of it, and is a grant, as I said. And in addition to that, we have the Shuttered Venue Operator Grant, which is for different venues, as we mentioned previously as well, and that is a grant program as well. So we also have resource partners that do free one-on-one confidential counseling all the time, not just during this COVID time that we're in now, but they provide business counseling from starting a business all the way through selling your business, or you know, closing it down, or whatever the situation may be. They really have expertise in all aspects of the business life cycle and are very available at all times. So the 3 primary organizations is SCORE, the Center for Women in Enterprise, or referred to as the Women's Business Center. And then we have the Small Business Development Center, or the SBDC. All three of these organizations, their counselors and mentors do provide free one-on-one confidential counseling. And currently all of that counseling is being handled via usually using Zoom or email or telephone. And they are also offering a very wide variety of workshops that you can sign up that are free of charge, that are really being held all times during the day and during the week. Pretty much every day out of the week, there's at least one or two being offered by our resource partners. And if you're interested in finding out more about those, you can go to the New Hampshire District Office website, which I'll give you in just a moment. And there is right on the main landing page, when you first log in, or first go to the link, I should say, you will see it'll say calendar of events. Usually it lists the two most current ones upcoming, but then if you click just below that, it will open up and give you a whole month's worth. And then you can see what's coming up in the next month, or even another month after that. So you can sort of plan which ones you want to attend, and all the links, information, registration, and all that information is there. And again, those are all being offered free of charge. So some of the important links to be aware of and contact information, if you want to stay up to speed on all of the changes and new programs and all of the upcoming webinars that are being offered by our resource partners, as well as if you go to the New Hampshire District Office website, which is SBA.gov/NH, and scroll all the way to the bottom. On the right hand side, there is a link there to sign up for our New Hampshire E Newsletter. We send that out twice a week, usually on a Monday or Tuesday, and then generally like on a Thursday. And you will and you just click on that button, enter in your email address, submit that, and you will be getting any updates that will be coming as we become aware. We will keep you apprised of any upcoming changes in any of the programs, any additions, and like I said, also all the upcoming workshops that are happening as well. If you're interested in following SBA on Twitter, you can go to our Twitter account, which is at SBA_NH. If you have any questions at any point in time and want to contact our office, we have a office email address that you can go to, submit those questions, and we monitor that email address all day long. So we will get back to you as soon as possible with the answer, whether it be one of our COVID-related programs or any other questions related to your small business that we can help you with. The email address for that is New Hampshire, spelled out all together, _DO at SBA.gov, or you can call our office at 603-225-1400. If you're looking for some information on the web about the various programs, if you want to look at all the different economic aid options that are available that SBA provides, you can go to www.sba.gov/coronavirus relief, and that will give you a list of all the different programs that are available that then you can click through and see. If you're looking specifically for the PPP, it's the same initial address, which is the www.sba.gov, and then /PPP, and it'll give you all the most current information on the first draw, second draw, forgiveness, and any other information that might be pertinent to that program. And then if you're interested, or if you are interested in a Shuttered Venue Operator Grant, it is the same as I mentioned before, with the exception of it is SVO grant. And again, that will give you all the information that is available currently on the Shuttered Venue Operator Grant. And with that being said, if anyone has any questions, we certainly be happy to answer those for you.
Great. Well, I see one question that's submitted, which is an easy one I can answer, which was, will this be recorded and available later? And the answer is yes. I know many of the people who registered for this event have super busy schedules, so we're happy we can record these so that you can watch them at your, at the best time for you, or rewatch sections. And then Rachel, I think you mentioned that you would be providing these slides as well. I know they're very detailed, full of information that people will want to refer to. So if you did register for this event, you'll receive all of that.
Great, thank you. Just wanted to touch on a couple other things before we take any other questions, but if anyone did receive the economic injury disaster loan, you currently have a loan in place. They did just announce that they're going to offer a longer deferment on those. So they came with an automatic 1-year deferment. They're now extending that to 2 years for loans that were approved in 2020 and for 18 months for those approved in 2021. You still do accrue interest, but as Warren said, it's a low fixed interest rate on those loans, but this just allows you to not make payments for a longer period of time. And then just on the American Recovery Plan of things to come that were passed that SBA is working on, there is going to be a grant that's going to come out for basically anyone that serves food or liquor. So it's restaurants, bars, food carts, you name it. We're going to have more guidance coming on that, but there's going to be a specific grant program for that industry. There's also funding in here for a community navigator program, which is going to be offered to some nonprofits and maybe states and municipalities so they can stand up kind of an assistance center to help different communities navigating the recovery from all of this and what programs are available. And so more information to come on that. So really important, because a lot of these things are fluid and changing on the regular, on the daily actually. So just if the best place to get, the latest information is to sign up, as Warren said, to our e-newsletter, and we send those out twice a week. So we'll let people know of any new opportunities that are out there, and also any opportunities for training from our office or our partners. So just wanted to get that out there. Thank you, Emily, for having us too. We really appreciate it. We'll be sure to get you the slides so you can follow up with any of your members that weren't able to join us. We do have a regular standing webinar on Wednesday mornings in our office as well, where we kind of give the latest updates and also answer any questions. So look to our website for information on how to join those as well. So.
That's great. A lot of resources you have available for small businesses right now. And I do want to mention real quick before I dive into some chamber stuff, if you have a question and you are here live, you may have missed the beginning intro, but to submit that, you're going to move your mouse or tap your screen, click on Q&A, and then from there you just type your question in and we'll see it. So I want to thank you again, Rachel and Warren, for this great presentation, a lot of valuable info. If I can jump in with some quick chamber news, and see if we get any questions in while we're waiting for that. So I'm going to screen share. 1 second. We've got an exciting event coming up in less than 2 weeks from now, our Citizen of the Year celebration on Tuesday, March 30th. We're going to be recognizing some amazing people at this event, and it will be held on this platform called Remo. It's not Zoom. It's a lot more fun. You'll actually see little profile pictures of your friends and people you want to connect with, and you can just double click on a table that they're sitting at, and then you'll instantly be in a video chat room with them. So it's a lot more similar to in-person networking. You can actually have some great side conversations, and it's super, super fun. So definitely check that out if you're interested. Coming up in the beginning of April, we also have our State of the City Forum on Thursday, April 8th. This will feature the mayor and city manager, and they will be talking about priorities for the city this year. I'm sure, this year's presentation will be of a special interest to a lot of people with so many, strange things going on this year as far as, the economy and small businesses. So, check that out. And then coming up in mid-April, we have our 30th annual business showcase event. This is a beloved trade show for the greater Concord area, and this will be held on that platform I mentioned called Remo. So it will be online, and basically when you enter the event, it will look like a trade show floor. You click on an exhibitor booth, right, with their name right on it, and you'll immediately be in a video call with that exhibitor. You can talk to them, find your friends, hang out with people, and it should be a lot of fun. There'll be door prizes. So if you're interested in exhibiting, it is for Greater Concord Chamber of Commerce members. Check that out. We do have some space left. And if you're interested in attending, definitely do that because there is no cost. It should be a lot of fun. So that's my chamber news. If you're interested in future webinars like this, you can go to our chamber website at concordnhchamber.com. We have recordings of sessions like this and additional resources for you to check out. And then before we wrap up, I just want to thank NHSBA again. Thank you, Rachel and Warren. We really, really appreciate all the work that you've done, especially this past year, to help small businesses, and excited you could be here today.
Thank you. It's great to be here, and we really appreciate all of our relationships with the chambers, and you guys have done, a great job of getting all these resources out to your members. So good job on your end as well.
All right, well, thank you. I love ending things early, so I will wrap this up now, and we'll share the recording and slides with those who registered. Have a great morning, everyone.
Thank you.
You as well. Thank you.